Hello everyone, welcome to the Panafricantales channel. Today's story is about Onaedo, an orphan who escaped her evil stepmother after she had killed her biological mother and then married a wealthy prince with the help of a magical udala tree. Onwelo Fumbasi. Once upon a time in the land of Ogoli, there was a man called Mr. Batoku. Mr. Batoku had two wives. Obiamaka the first wife and Ifeanwa the second one. Obiamaka had no child while the junior wife Ifeanwa had a very pretty daughter called Onaedo. Onaedo was a special child. The day she was born, it rained heavily in the compound while the sun shined brightly throughout the land. Batoku doted on Onaedo, not just because she was his only child, but also because she was very intelligent and very respectful. She was also different from any other child he had ever seen. He loved her so much and was very proud to be her father. Obiamaka, on the other hand, despised Onaedo, but she had to pretend to like her and her mother, even though Obiamaka wanted nothing more than to do away with the both of them. One day, Ifeanwa was preparing dinner for her and her daughter when she realized that she did not have enough salt for the food. It was late, so the markets were already closed. She was left with no other choice than to ask Obiamaka to lend her some salt. Obiamaka was happy when Ifeanwa came calling to her for salt. It was the perfect opportunity for her to carry out her wicked plan. She asked Ifeanwa to wait while she went into her store to get the salt. When Obiamaka reached her store, she closed the door firmly behind her and locked it with a key. The last thing she wanted was someone barging in on her and catching her red-handed. She reached to the top of the cupboard and brought down some otapiapia, a very potent poison, and mixed it with the salt till she obtained a very fine mixture. No one would have ever known that the mixture wasn't pure salt, with the way it blended well with the otapiapia. She poured it into a small plastic container and closed it with a lid. As she opened the door, she smiled within herself. Finally, I will be able to get rid of that Ifeanwa and her stupid daughter and have my husband Batoku all to myself. She practically ran back to the kitchen to give Ifeanwa the salt of death. Ifeanwa was so grateful for Obiamaka's generosity and thanked her for it. She used the salt to cook ofaku, scent leaf soup with osikapa, white rice. The aroma of the food was out of this world. After cooking, she offered Obiamaka some food. Obiamaka said she wasn't hungry at the time, but that she could put it in a bowl for her to eat the following day for lunch. Ifeanwa did as she requested. Then she dished out food for herself and Onaedo. After the delicious poison dinner, Onaedo stayed back in the kitchen to clean, while her mother Ifeanwa went to the room. She had barely sat on her bed when she started vomiting. Obiamaka and Onaedo ran to help her, but she joined the ancestors some minutes after. Obiamaka screamed in despair. Ifeanwa! Ifeanwa! Wake up! Please, wake up! As she screamed, she kept glancing at Onaedo, wondering when she would join her mother. Onaedo was crying and hugging her mother, as if she did eat the same dinner as her. Obiamaka was not happy at all, but she said nothing and continued the show she was putting on. Ifeanwa was laid to rest not too long after. After the burial, Batoku, her husband, just couldn't come to terms with his beloved wife's passing. He just couldn't accept her death and was completely devastated. And only 3 months after Ifeanwa's demise, Batoku passed in his sleep. Onaedo was now left all alone with Obiamaka, her stepmother. With Ifeanwa and her husband gone, she didn't have to pretend anymore. She finally showed Onaedo how she really felt about her. Obiamaka practically turned Onaedo to a house girl in her father's house. From sunrise to sundown, Onaedo was indoors, cooking, cleaning, washing, and slaving away. The only time she was allowed to go outside the house was when she had to fetch water from the stream or go to the farm or to the market. In spite of all the housework Onaedo did for her stepmother, nothing ever pleased Obiamaka. All she got in return was wickedness, maltreatment, and more wickedness and more maltreatment. Onaedo was not eating regularly, and after a while, Obiamaka even forbade her from sleeping inside the house. Onaedo was so miserable. She wished her mother and father were still alive. One night, she had worked so hard, only to be told by her stepmother that she would go to bed without dinner because there wasn't enough food. She thought of running away, but to where? She didn't know any of her extended family. Where would she go to? She was so tired that she cried herself to sleep. Some days later, Obiamaka went to the market and bought a basket of udala fruit. She ate every single one and gave Onaedo the seeds to throw away. Onaedo decided to plant the udala seeds beside her mother's grave because she loved udala. Every day, when she was done with her chores, she would go to her mother's grave where she planted the udala, and she would start singing. Udalam to, wunye namo, go to udala nafia, lacha, lachapuwa wenna, enu abualili, onye nosionaba, lachapuwa wenna. Every day she would go where she planted the udala seeds and sing her heart out. The udala seeds started sprouting and growing very quickly. The udala tree kept growing at such an alarming rate and eventually started producing fruit. All this while, the wicked stepmother had no idea what was going on. She never even saw the tree, nor heard Onaedo's songs. The tree was practically invisible to everyone, but Onaedo could see the tree, and Onaedo could see the fruits, but only the tree could hear Onaedo's songs. Only the tree could hear Onaedo's songs. When the udala was fully ripe and ready to be plucked and eaten, she plucked some of it and took them to the market to sell. Everyone loved her udala fruits and just couldn't get enough of it. They all came from far and wide just to buy Onaedo's udala. And very soon, she started making enough money to save, invest, and buy nice things for herself. She started dressing nicer and getting more beautiful and more intelligent. But for some strange, magical reason, her stepmother did not notice the changes in Onaedo. She saw Onaedo as the miserable-looking young woman who would never amount to anything. It was as if God had shut her eyes and made her oblivious to Onaedo's transformation. As fate would have it, some servants of a kind, brave, rich, and handsome king from a neighboring town bought the udala from her because they looked so succulent and tasty. Immediately the servants ate the udala, their senses were awakened by the magical aroma. They took some to their sovereign, the great and mighty King Ugona, for such pleasure had to be experienced by royalty. Immediately the king ate the first udala fruit. An unfamiliar feeling rose in his heart. All of a sudden, he was overcome with immense joy and love. He quickly ate the rest. They were the best udalas he had ever eaten in his entire life. He called the servants and demanded where they bought the udala from. They told him it was from a beautiful young lady whose name nor background they knew nothing of. He yearned for the woman who nurtured such magic. The king had been single for a while, and he was ready to settle down. He didn't care about backgrounds. He He had been asking God for a wife he could build and expand his kingdom with. And for some strange, magical reason, he felt drawn to this woman he had not even met. He felt in his heart that she was the wife he had so earnestly prayed for. He asked the servant to take him to the marketplace to meet this mystery lady. Onaedo was preparing to head home when the king arrived with his men in front of her stall. Young lady, I am King Ugonna of Umuahia town, not too far from here. My servants bought some of your udala fruits for me, and I haven't been the same ever since. What is your name? Onaedo was surprised, but at the same time, something about all that was happening felt ordained by the gods. Onaedo, she answered, with a boldness that even surprised her. Onaedo, repeated the king, smiling as he took her hands in his. Such a beautiful name, and quite befitting for a beautiful and graceful woman like you. My dear Onaedo, I would like to ask for your hand in marriage. Would you do me the grand honor of becoming my queen and the mother of my children? I promise I will make you the happiest woman on earth. I can come and meet your people. I have no family, Onaedo interjected. My parents are dead. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, replied the king. I really am sorry. Let me be your king. Let me be your husband, Onaedo. I have a garden where you can plant any type of tree or flower. And if you decide you want something else, I will make it happen. You have my word. I will marry you, King Ugonna. Somehow our destinies were made to cross paths. I would love to spend the rest of what is left of my life with you. Onaedo never went back to her old life, nor did she ever inform Obiamaka, her stepmother, about her encounter with the king and his proposal. There was no need to. She wanted to forget her old life and all the needless pain and suffering. This was her chance, and she was not going to jeopardize it for anything in the world. And so it was that Onaedo and King Ugonna got married in the most lavish ceremony, and they lived happily ever after. The king gifted her many hectares of land, where she planted and nurtured different types of plants and trees. And Onaedo had 4 kids, whom she taught how to sing beautiful, enchanting melodies to the trees and plants. This is the end of the story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed my song. Tell me what you think about my voice. I usually don't sing in my stories, but this one called for a song. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to share, and don't forget to like, don't forget to put on your notification bells. There'll be many, many more stories, and we promise to bring them more often to you. And voila! Have a wonderful, wonderful week. Have a wonderful day or evening, depending on where you're listening from. Thank you. Bye-bye. Ciao.